I had been dating sweetest girl in the whole world. I mean, she and I grew up in church together. I knew when I was 12 years old that one of these days she would be my wife. She paid absolutely no attention to me at that age. I don't think she even knew well, she knew I existed, but she had no idea that, I was even thinking about her. But at any rate, I can remember while at Holloman, I called my sister, I wrote my sister, Jackie, and Joanne, and I asked her to ask Gwen to write me a letter. And Gwen said something to her like, write him a letter? I'm not thinking about him. Why would I write him a letter? And Jackie told me something like that Gwen said. I says, okay, I'll take care of that. Next time I came home on leave, I went to her home. Uh, she was, somebody whom I had been thinking about all this time. So I went to her home and I sat and I talked with her. Her parents really weren't too keen on me being there because the rumors around the church were that I was dating the preacher's daughter. And in fact, we did have a relationship at one time. But it was not a serious relationship as far as I was concerned. The only serious relationship that I ever wanted was Gwen. And so I finally convinced her grandparents to allow me to come and visit with her. And they did, but I couldn't go any further than the front porch. I couldn't take her anywhere. So I sat on the front porch and I talked to her for the while I was on leave, and then I went back to Holloman, and then we started communicating. Well, somewhere along the way, Gwen evidently fell in love with me too. Strangest thing, one of the strangest things that I can imagine happened. 2 years after I got to Holloman, I converted to Catholicism. I mentioned that Gwen and I grew up in the same church. We grew up in the same little Baptist church, and our parents and grandparents were some of the people who founded that little church. We did everything there. We sang in the choir. We just did all kinds of things there. But for some reason, I felt that I needed something else, and I converted to Catholicism. And I thought about the fact that Gwen was still in that church. How on earth am I going to tell her that I'm Catholic? In the Catholic Church at that time, there was a thing where you didn't do mixed marriages. I mean, if she was a Protestant and I was Catholic, that was considered a mixed marriage, and that just didn't happen. So I remember I came home on leave, and I was sitting on her porch. I used to sing to her all the time. And I sang to her that evening. I sang some of the most beautiful love songs. I memorized those songs because I needed to get her in the right mood. A, you're adorable. B, you're so beautiful. C, you're a cutie full of charm. D, you're a darling, and E, you're exciting. For F, you're a feather in my arm. And I'd go through the whole alphabet like that with her, and she just absolutely loved it. And I think she knew something was up. I said, Gwen, I've got something I just got to tell you. She said, I don't know how to begin telling you. She said, well, tell me, just get it out, tell me. I said, I converted to Catholicism. And when I said that, she screamed to the top of her voice. Her grandmother and her grandfather came running to the door. They thought I had done something to her. I couldn't understand what was happening. She says, I've been trying to find a way to tell you for 3 months. I'm taking instructions to become Catholic.
That's funny.
I couldn't believe it. I
Wow.
could not believe. I'd never mentioned a word to her about it at all. But there she was, taking instructions to become Catholic. And her grandparents really gave her a hard time about that. In order to receive instruction, she had to go to the nearest Catholic church, which was on State and Lee. It was St. Pius Church. It was on State and Lee Street there. She had to walk, and instruction was in the evening, so she had to walk to that church alone in order to receive instructions because her grandparents would not drive her there because they didn't approve of her. They wouldn't, deny her the right to do it, but they didn't approve of what she was doing. Just as my grandparents didn't approve of me becoming Catholic, but by the time I had done it, it was, it was all over. Um, she did become Catholic, and she agreed in August of 1960 to marry me. And once that happened, there was absolutely no way anybody could take our children away or anything else. Gwen married me on my birthday, August 19th, 1960, and on August 20th, 1960, my brother and my sister moved in with us, and we raised them. I have to tell you that on August 13th, which was, I guess, excuse me, August 13th, 1960, which was about 6 days before we were married, I was involved with NAACP Youth Council. We held the first sit-in demonstration in Jacksonville on August 13th. Gwen and I were married on Friday, August 19th. On Saturday, August 20th, there was another sit-in demonstration, and I left my new bride to go and participate in that sit-in demonstration. She didn't mind, she approved of it. But Gwen was there with Ken and Hazel while I participated in the demonstration. The following weekend, the weekend of August 27th, 1960, was Axe Handle Day. Gwen heard of all of the commotion that was going on, the riots and that sort of thing, and she knew that I was in that demonstration. She had no idea what was happening and whether or not I was going to be coming back home. But she was there and she waited, and I did get back. It was a bloody day in Jacksonville, but it was, in my opinion, it was the incident that started Jacksonville on the road towards sanity, believe me.